Alright, hello. In this video, we are going to create something pretty fun, pretty helpful with Deneb. It's kind of split into two steps. The first step is creating a nicely formatted table using a technique or a function called a fold. It's a transform fold. And that's going to give us really what you can see here in the middle, this nicely formatted table. The final steps are going to take us to this here. And the difference is not the color, but rather this little rectangle you can see in the top right of each square, of each cell, if you want to call it that. What is that doing? Well, I'll give you an example. Here, on this visualization, or on any visualization really, when you hover over and you have a tooltip, the tooltip, though helpful, can kind of get in the way. So I was thinking it would be really cool to come up with a way of changing that. And because in Vega-Lite, Deneb, you can specify when you want the tooltip to be on and not and have multiple layers, I thought this would be a cool way. So here, if I hover over, I get no tooltip anywhere, not on the text, not on the cell, other than when I go here. So I can really do all the hovering that I want, all the cross-filtering that I want to do. And I only see the tooltip when I say I explicitly want to see the tooltip at that point. Now I've used this on a table. You can do on any visualization. So let's do that. Let's see how we can get at that point. It's really good fun, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you think it's as useful as I certainly do. So when I create a data visualization, I will always start off with a very basic bar chart. The reason I do that is because it provides you really with all the elements that you need, your x-axis, your y-axis, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to do as I always do, and I'm going to start with my mark bar. Now, I'm going to do a few things pretty quickly because I don't want to repeat myself too much. If you want to see some of the basic stuff, then just go to one of my previous videos about Deneb. There's a whole playlist for them. Link that up there somewhere. So yeah, what are we going to do? So my field Y is going to be name, and I'm going to change that from quantitative, and I'm going to make it ordinal. So straight away, you get the names of the players. So we're getting a bit of structure here. And my mark is not going to be bar, it's going to be rect, and my field is not going to be A, it doesn't exist. And I'm going to put in something like points, though we're going to change this soon. That's what we get. We get structure, but we get mess, right? So obviously, we are going to change that. And one of the first things I'm going to change is here, I'm going to specify that I want to create layers. Anything with any level of complexity, you are going to use layers when you're working with Vega. So, or Vega-Lite, I should say. So I'm going to simply say, I want to create a layer, and I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to open my layer like this, and then I have that. So I have my first layer, which is my mark rect. Nothing changed, as you know, if you've seen the source stuff before. So I'm now going to specify a second layer, and I'm going to be nice and lazy and just copy that, though it's not so helpful because we need to make quite a few changes. So my second layer is the same as the first one. I copied and pasted it, and I'm just going to add a couple of things to it now, because I don't want it to be rect. I want it to be text, and I'm going to say mark, and then I'm going to say type. So mark, type, mark, and then type, and then text, and that kind of like closes that off and allows me to add my encoding. And my encoding is going to say what I want my text to be. Now, again, I don't want to waste too much time typing. This is not the main stuff, so I'm just going to copy and paste, if that's all right with you. So in my text, where I've got my encoding, I can just do this and say encoding is like that. So encoding, text field, and I'm going to use the same value that I used in my x-axis. I'm going to use points and close that off. If I zoom in, it's hard to see right now because I've got terrible colors. Here you can see all those values have appeared as you'd expect them to appear in that place. So now I'm just going to quickly make a change and make this easier to see, because I want my my text value to be well, not that color, basically. Mark type text, and I'm just going to add here my color, and I'm going to say color, and I want to make it say black, just a bit easier to see, right? Yeah. And so there we have it. Roughly, something's happening now. Now comes the clever part. This is the transform part. This is the part that we're all here for. This is the part where I'm going to say I want my columns not to be a field, but I want it to be something which is called a fold. And I'm going to fold my measures into one entity, if you will. Sounds cool if you say it that way. So before I do all my layers, this is where I'm going to say, actually, I want to do a transform. And my transform is going to be something which is called, as I said before, a fold. So transform, open that up, and then say the transform is going to be a fold like that. And then we do another square bracket. And then I just start specifying what I want to transform, what I want to fold, I should say. So I'm going to say I want to fold each of my measures. So I've got points. And I go next. I'm going to try and do them in the order that I see them there. PPG. And then I'm going to go average minutes. And the final one, I believe, is going to be played. I've done that in the wrong order. Doesn't matter. So that is my fold. And I need to kind of close that off in the correct way, which is going to be close that. And then close this. And then close that. And then do that. Cool. So that is a really important part of what we've just done now. It's important, but it's really simple. Transform. Specify we're going to transform something. 2, specify what sort of transform, which is the fold, and then specify what we want to fold. When you do that, it creates a key. And what I want to do now is use that key. And I'm going to use it. And as I said, I want this to be along my x-axis, so I'm going to use that in my x-axis. So I'm going to go x field, not points, but now rather key. Now what happens? Something pretty cool-ish has happened. You can see now that I do have that separation. My x-axis does look kind of how I want it to look, but it looks weird, but that's only because of my actual text. My text is still displaying values that don't make any sense, right? It's just displaying the same value over and over again. That's because here my text is points. So I'm just getting that now. So for example, if I change that text to, I don't know, played, you'd get that value over and over again. So what I want to do is change it from field and just say the value. And that's going to give me the value that you see in my key. So that's given me, as I said, the value of each measure in the key. Now, obviously now it looks really messy because we have some issues with decimal placing, but this is perfectly fine. We can just sort that out with some simple formatting. So now we're going to go and we're going to format the text because it says text is, type, and then color is black. I haven't done anything more than that. So now I can go and sort that out. In my mark text, here in the encoding, I'm going to go field is value. And then I'm going to add something, just formatting. Now, this really depends on the data that you're working with. I know how my data should be formatted. And for this, I'm just going to go this 0.3, which gives me like 3 significant numbers, right? So I've got my 5.91, 11. It really depends. There's loads of different options. I'll give a link in the video description. So I have that set up. What now? Well, there are still nice formatting things that we need to sort out. The really obvious one, and this is again something I'll do quickly because I've mentioned it before in previous videos. So here I'm just going to write my orient. Can't type, of course. Orient, and then top. And when I enter that, you have this at the very top. Now you can see we're getting there. Still a bit to go, but these are really small changes that we're getting just to do the initial table. So I'm going to say on my x-axis, small stuff here, I want no title, so I'm going to go title, I'm going to go null, which I can copy and paste nice and easy on my y-axis, and that gets rid of that. So we're getting there. Now I want to create this nice little division that I had between the columns in the other example. So I'm going to create this. So this is just padding on my x-axis. So on my x-axis, I'm going to add something else after I've got my title, and I'm going to say there, I want to have, so a scale, and my scale is going to be based on, it's going to be padding, and the padding, just pick a value that you want. I'm going to say 0.05. That's going to be my padding there. When I enter that, you get that padding. So you get these really, for me, nice divisions of rows. Looks really cool. Something that you can't do with your standard table, other than if you work with a workaround. So you have this padding. Great. I'm gonna change the color of the background because I don't like how it looks. It's a bit too extreme. There's lots of blues. So on my mark rect, which I have here, I'm gonna change it to something else. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say, yeah, just change the color basically. So I'm gonna add something, I'm gonna copy and paste it nice and quickly just to save some time. Hope you don't mind. Color, so I've got mark, type, rect, same. Encoding, color. So I'm going to say the color is going to be a value, and the value is going to be, yeah, this E3, E3, E3. And I can just then close this off like that. And now we get these maybe more standard, easier to deal with color on my table. Might have noticed a couple of things. First thing is the sorting. So the sorting of the y-axis needs to be fixed because it's currently alphabetical by name. And I'm going to fix this, and I'm going to say, I'm going to tell it to sort it by a measure. Yeah. And to do that, you just type sort, and then I'm going to go field. And then the field is going to be, type the wrong thing there. Curly bracket, not square bracket. Field, and I want the field to be points. When I do that, you'll see that it'll change, but it's gone actually ascending. So I want to change that to order, and I'm going to say descending. Now I have descending. Also, you'll notice that I had points, PBG, average minutes, and played. It's done this in a different order, right? So for my x-axis, well, I could say I'm going to sort it, but actually I want the opposite. I don't want to sort it. So I'm going to say sort, and then that is going to be null. And when I do that, then you'll see it matches this here. See, now it matches. Nice. Now we do have this table that we had there. Save one and two small differences with the size. So we've done the first part, and the first part was to create a really nicely formatted table with these divisions of the columns that is difficult to achieve in Power BI. But here comes the very cool part, and this doesn't take that long, don't worry. So I now want to create these little rectangles here, little squares, sorry, that will allow me to have a tooltip, which I currently don't have because I haven't switched the tooltip on any of my marks. I did that intentionally because I don't want it to be switched on my marks. I want it to be switched on only in the very thing that I'm about to create. And what I'm about to create are squares. So I'm going to go mark, type, square. Good start. Mark, type, square, because we want to create squares. And I'm going to get rid of this here, this color encoding. And here I'm going to write color. Now, this is going to stay the same, but I want to make it really bright and clear when these squares appear. So now I have these squares in the middle, red squares. They're quite small, so let's just make them a bit bigger and say size, and the size, pick a number, is 80. Much bigger, fantastic. So I want them to be located in the top right of each, row, column, so cell essentially, to ensure that that stays in the correct place through all the filtering with dynamic top ends and any changing of the size of the visualization. I need to do this part. And this part is me specifying the height and the width of each of these cells. So I've got height and I've got width. Height, step 30. We can keep that. I'm going to make it maybe the width 60, like this. And what that means is they will always stay the same size, the cells. And what that allows me to do here in the encoding of my square is to say I want my x offset, so where this square appears on the x-axis, I want it to be in a certain location now. Now we just got to work out where that should be. So if I say x offset 22, it moves it to the right. And 22 seems like a good number. I could say something like 23, but I don't want it to be so close to the edge. I'm going to be very, very picky about this. And then I want my y offset to be -9. Minus takes it up over, not down. So here, now it's in the top right. These, of course, now look very, very bright. These red. So I'm going to change it back to white. And now if we want, we could even make them a little bit less obvious. And to do that, I'm going to make them less transparent. And I'm going to say, I'm going to make them more transparent. And I'm going to say opacity. And I want the opacity to be 0.4. Yeah, something like that. Maybe think it's too opaque, I don't know. Or too transparent, I'm getting the wrong around. So pick a number that you think works. So now we have those squares. But what are we missing? We're missing, of course, the tooltip. So I'm going to add the tooltip now. Tooltip is true. Now the magic happens. Now we have that beautiful thing. So now I have this table that we created, and now when I hover over the top right, nowhere else, only to the top right in this little square, and the square, of course, is an indication that this is where you go. I have my tooltip. It's a fantastic thing. And just to show what I was talking about now, if I then use my dynamic top and it changes, you see they're all in the same place. And to give an example of when it doesn't work, on this one I didn't specify the width, so this step width. So when I move this one, you see they don't remain in the correct place because it's moving. So in this one, it doesn't actually move with the visualization, so it's staying in the right place. See, now stays in the correct place because it's not moving with the visualization. Very cool. See this one, it's kind of staying in, but it's now in a strange place, so it's just easier to manage. That is essentially what we want to create, right? That is our visualization, the nicely formatted table with that really cool thing in the top right. Cool tip. Sorry, I'll never make that joke ever again. I might do. Yeah, let's just finish it off and do the color formatting like I've done there. This isn't an important part, but actually can be quite helpful because there's one other little thing that we can do to show how you can do the colors of columns as well. So thus far, we've said that the columns, the color is E3. Oh, E3. It's gray, is what I'm saying. But what if we want to base it not on a that we've defined, but we want to make it dynamic. So if we say color and we say field, and previously I mentioned that we have this key that we create when we do our fold. So if I then say color field is key, now you can see that we can have each column its own color. Now these colors are a little bit in your face, but it's quite a cool thing that you can do. If I just switch the legend off, because we don't need the legend here. And also maybe we can actually, with the color, we can make it less, extreme color. But here you can see the concept, right? We've got points is one color. Each column is its own color, which I've had this requested before, and now it's really cool that it's so easy to do. You just base it on this fold. If you want to make it a kind of a calmer color, and there's loads to choose from. Again, something that I'll post in the video description. But I'm going to say, instead of color field key, I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to say I'm going to specify a different color scheme, which you can do. Going to here, and I'm going to say scale. It is going to be based on a scheme, and the scheme I can name, and I'm going to call it light gray red. I want to apply that change. You get this maybe less extreme colors. That's maybe not the best example because of the shades. I'm not sure. But you have many different options to choose from, and that is a really nice way of separating the columns also through a color. Very nice. Final thing, if you want to do it in the way that I did it in the other visualization, instead of saying color field is key, I can now say color field is total points. No, that's not true. Just points, not total points, sorry. And now you have it done that way. Now it's based on the number of points, not the names of each column. Cool, no? I like that a lot. So that's what I came here to do. That's what I came here to create. Quite a few little different things inside this video, all helpful. I hope you agree. But my favorite is definitely this tooltip section in the top right. Very helpful, and as I say, isn't just to be used in a table. It can be used in really any visualization that you can create with Deneb. That's it. If you liked this video, if you want to see more, do the usual YouTube type things, which is liking, subscribing, would be much appreciated. And yeah, let me know what you thought about these ideas, if you think you're going to use them. And yeah, enjoy Deneb. Enjoy Power BI. Thank you very much, and goodbye.